you. So happy you all made it here today. I have to talk very loud, otherwise the video won't have any sound. And I'm a very soft speaker, so if you can't hear me, let me know, okay? Well, I want to thank Patrick, first of all, because he's an amazing entrepreneur, and what he's creating here in the studio door, it's my pleasure to be part of it and to be whatever assistance I can in his encouragement of artists, because how many people here are artists? If you are an artist, how many people are not an artist? Oh, okay, but would like to be an artist, or wouldn't like to be. You'd have to be crazy to be an artist, you know. So, why are you here? I'd like to hear from you guys. What it is you want to hear that has brought you here today in terms of your own art making. Does anybody have some input that they'd like to give me that I can pick up on?
I'd like to find out your
you have to speak louder.
I'd like to see different techniques from other artists, and this is a great opportunity.
Is there a particular frustration or wall that you run into in your art making that I can in some way help you to move further along? Anybody have? Yeah.
So I'm a fused glass artist, and right now I'm having
Can everybody hear? Everybody?
difficulty. I have lots of ideas flowing, so it's not a creativity thing, but I'm having difficulty getting it to work in real life, getting it out of me.
Right. Does everybody feel that they're creating at their maximum capacity? She's having trouble letting the ideas and the creativity flow. And I think a lot of artists, I have never been a teacher throughout my 50-year career, because I didn't have to be. I was free to do my own work, and I think I may be one of the rare artists that have made a living at my art since I started creating it. I was very lucky. I was obviously in the right place at the right time. But even then it was difficult, because in the 50s and 60s, women artists were held in very low regard to begin with, and artists were held in even lower regard. So if you were lucky enough to get into a gallery and the gallery sold your work, then you had to start the battle of collecting the money for the work that they sold. And then, on top of that, if they sold a particular piece of work, like a mother and child, they didn't want anything else you were doing, they wanted another mother and child. Well, that's fine. So you have to begin at that point to find a way to keep doing themes and images that are relevant and interesting, keep the interest going, and find new ways to express a very familiar theme, which is exactly what I did. And how I did it was to distract myself. So for instance, after doing the 300th mother and child, I found a picture of a football player, and he was looking so lovingly at the football. I said, that's perfect. So the model for the mother became a football player. So that brought an extra little dimension into this particular mother and child painting. A little bit of androgyny. And the other interesting thing was, in those early days, the eyes on the mothers had to be closed, because it was a time when Americans were just beginning to realize that they could obtain original art from living American artists, and they had money in their pockets. So they could walk into a gallery and say, oh, I love that, how much is it? And they had the cash to pay for it. But what they couldn't understand or tolerate was a confrontation with the image on the canvas. A lot of people say, well, I feel like the mother is staring at me. I can't live with it. So the eyes had to be closed, and it was many, many years before I was able to open the eyes. And people were more educated and more understanding of what art was about. The interesting thing to me is that most of the people who bought my paintings held on to them. They never returned back into the marketplace. And so now, 50 years later, I have collectors contacting me through the internet. I said, well, you know, we're getting really old. The kids don't want the painting. We'd like you to know who we are and see what we have and what we've lived with all our lives and loved. One woman called me, and there were 3 sisters, and they had a mother and child in their home all the years they were growing up. The mother had died, and now they were fighting over who gets the painting. So I suggested that we make prints, photographic reproduction. So everybody got the mother and child, and the original they pass around during the year. So. The point that I'm making is that there was something in the painting that spoke to people. It was relevant to their lives and made them feel good and maybe raise their consciousness a little bit, hopefully, and so on. Anyway, I was also commissioned to do a series of limited edition signed and numbered lithographs by distributors on both coasts. And I probably made history in selling more prints than any artist alive. Editions were 200 each. I signed each and every one of them. I did about 50 separate editions. So I spent a lot of my time signing lithographs. Those went to distributors who resold them to framers, and then also the auctions, the art auctions became very big. And everybody that was on vacation anywhere in the world would run into an auction and buy one of my lithographs. It was amazing. But still, I was having a tough time getting paid because I was a woman. Who pays women? Well, I met this very stunning, very charming gentleman, and we went to a very fancy French restaurant. And he asked me what I'd like to do after dinner, and I said, I'd like to go to this gallery. The guy sold a painting of mine, and he won't pay me. This was a big guy. So we picked the guy up by his neck, and the guy's little feet were dangling. I said, if you don't pay her, I'm going to drop you, And the guy's reaching in his pocket. He comes up with the cash. And I'm saying to myself, there's something, there's the missing element, that's what I do. And that's when the fun began. I mean, we had more fun than I can ever express. Anyway, the point is that it's very difficult to be an artist who is truly creative and truly expressing yourself and being inspired and having that inspiration inspire you to do more and to have it inspire you to branch out into something totally unrelated that you bring into the realm of creativity. For instance, I did a lot of portrait work, and I've done, Martha Ray, and I did Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor, and just everybody you can think of. But I never liked the way people brought themselves to a portrait sitting. And so I began to take many photographs of the individual that I was painting, so that the portrait wasn't an exact copy of a particular photograph. It became a collage of many different photographs. So the eyes from one maybe, and the nose from another. And I never liked what they were wearing. So I began to make them take their shirts off and wrap them in a very delicate fabric. So I had shoulders and neck and maybe a fan blowing the hair, and, very glamorous. And I decided I didn't like the color of a piece of chiffon in the portrait I was doing, so I added some paint. And I made the mistake of putting that piece of chiffon in the window of my gallery on Madison Avenue. Now, Jackie Kennedy had walked by every day, looked in the window longingly, and never came in, and I was really annoyed. Well, I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I mean, why would she not come in, When I put the little piece of fabric, chiffon, beautifully hand-painted, very delicate and lovely. She came in. She said, oh, it's so pretty, it's beautiful. She said, could you make me a piece? I said, absolutely. She said, do you think you can make me a whole dress? I said, of course. I don't sew. I don't sing either. Anyway, she said, well, how much will it be? And I said, this is ridiculous. So I said, maybe $1,600. I don't even remember. It was an outlandish price. And there's no dress. We're going to make it to order. You know, she's going to have to come for fittings and what have you. And she pulls out a roll of cash from her junior bra. I said, how much in advance would you like? And I said, half. And she starts peeling it off. The upshot of the whole thing was that she was not allowed to walk into a gallery or anywhere else and buy a piece of art, because she needed to have her experts and so on. It was, art to them was strictly an investment. They only bought work that they were absolutely 100% certain was going to, you know, evaluate in the market. Hi, just so noticed you. So anyway, I got a sewer quickly, and we made her a beautiful dress, and then all hell broke loose because all the other ladies who were going to the charity balls in New York, which is famous for it, they wanted a creation. So I started designing magnificent ball gowns, chiffon, flowing, drapey dresses. And I'd always add a scarf like the original, because you could drag it behind you very nonchalantly, you know, and look very elegant. And so on and so forth. So all of a sudden my gallery became a boutique, and all these celebrities are coming in wanting one of these incredible creations. But one day, an old-time dress manufacturer is standing in front of the window. Boy, he says, that is the most beautiful dress I've ever seen in my 40 years in the dress business. And he says to my husband, who by this time, by the way, is my manager. And we were together 24 hours a day for 40 years. He ran all the we had galleries all over the country. He ran them. He did all the wheeling and dealing with gallery owners and so on and so forth. And so this man said, do you think she could do more than one at a time? And he said, of course. Well, it just so happens that that one dress had about 10 colors in it. And my best friend and I sat down and tried to paint a dress, repeat the copy of the dress in 10 different colors, and it took us all night. And we never thought we'd finish. We had no idea how it would dry or what we were doing. But we figured it out, and before long I had created a whole new industry. And it was written up in the New York Times business section. This was a business of hand painting. Hand painting clothing that was already made from manufacturers who had overruns, which was a waste for them. And they'd pick them up off the back floor, and they'd give them to me, and I'd fold them up in weird ways and hit them with paint. And they'd hang them up, and they'd go into the showroom, and they'd start selling the dress all over again. This happened, we had about 300 different manufacturers, including the Sassoon Jean Company and so on, and so forth. And I started making appearances all over the country, doing demonstrations. How do you hand paint a dress that's already sewn together, you know? The manufacturers loved it. It was such a novel idea because they hated to send out little pieces to have them embroidered or painted or what have you. So anyway, we ended up with 600 artists in a very big factory. And I'm feeling very unfulfilled. This is not exactly what I had in mind. I wanted to create, you know, paintings, sculptures, what have you. So we sold the business and we moved to the desert of Arizona. And my husband became what you call a Brooklyn cowboy. And I started to sculpt, because the only Indian I ever met in my life was, I think, lived on Long Island or something, you know. And all of a sudden I'm getting all this inspiration, like Indian themes and seeing things and dreaming. And so I started to sculpt. And as I did, more and more inspiration came to me. It was almost as if I was channeling something. I have no idea what. But it did lead to a trilogy of 3 sci-fi books based on a secret that one of the spiritual leaders of the Hopi Nation told me. And so that led to a whole series of more sculptures and books that have been published and so on and so forth. Went on and on and on and on. Then we moved to San Francisco, and I began to sculpt with clay and casting, having them cast and so on and so forth. And they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And every one of them sold. Along the way, everything that I did sold. You know, the lithographs sold out the minute they were released. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signed and numbered lithographs, and they sold out. There were no more, and I never did them again. That was it, you know. So anything that's around now is back from the 70s. That happened in the 70s. And so where am I now? I'm in San Francisco. And I went and I bought a quilt and a dust ruffle and some pillows. I painted them. And my husband took it to a home furnishing show for which San Francisco is famous, in a 10 by 10 booth with a 3 by 5 photograph of my bed at home, which happened to have been a Frank Lloyd Wright house in the middle of Scottsdale, near Taliesin West. And you got a couple of New Yorkers who've never been, you know, further than Central Park. Okay? My husband's got his boots on and gun belt. And my son is admiring, gee, Dad, you look great. You know? They were playing cowboys. In the meantime, they went to into San Francisco with this 3 by 5 photograph and came back with $300,000 worth of orders for pillows, bedspreads, industrial. Now, what do you do now? So you have to be creative. The whole point of all these stories is that it's creativity that drives you. And what is the main problem that most artists have today? My observation, as I see more and more artists coming into being, because believe me, there were never this many artists when I started. It was a rare thing to be an artist, because nobody wanted to be one because you couldn't make any money at it. You know, it was a waste of time. What I'm finding is that a lot of people are having trouble breaking through the walls that prevent you from truly expressing your creativity to the nth degree so that it becomes totally successful no matter what success represents. Okay? And one of the shortcomings that I see is that a lot of people do not spend enough time drawing. Okay? Abstract art is its own thing. It's not something that I particularly admire, because it's my feeling that you cannot abstract from nothing. You can abstract from something. So you have to have a starting point. It could be, and the starting point could be anything. But if you don't have the basic skill of being able to draw, and you don't have the hand and eye coordination that gives you the control you need to express these ideas and inspirations, which float very quickly. They don't last long. You have to be able to reach out and grab them. And you need the skill in order to be able to do that. And that basic skill is drawing. And so I developed this technique that I called making your mark, because it's most relevant to what the technique basically is. And I found out that it not only enabled people to quickly break through all the restrictions, but it allowed them to suddenly have a world open up in which images started to appear. And they were capable, because I've given them the tools they needed, capable of expressing those images and bringing them out to become relevant paintings, sculpture, quilts, what have you. Anyway, at one point I was living on a couple of boats here in San Diego, and I met this woman doctor, board certified internist, who was extremely uptight. She was Cuban and she had escaped from Cuba. And she said, well, you can't teach me to draw. I said, well, I think I can. No, never happened. So the name of the book that we wrote together is called Seeking the Silent Stranger. But who is the silent stranger? Does anybody have an idea who the silent stranger might be? A what? A green man on your shoulder? Or your mother's voice in your ear that you can't get rid of? Yeah. What I discovered is that around age 9, which is about the time that I had a teacher who actually wanted to adopt me. She went to my mother and said, can I have your kid? And my mother said no. But the teacher took me to the Art Students League at the age of 9, which was a very famous school in New York because they only allowed the top artists, working famous artists, to teach. And you could go anytime you want, you could leave anytime you want. It was very famous, right across the street from Carnegie Hall, so it was a little hotbed of culture, it's wonderful. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so I did not start painting till I was in my mid-20s. I did other things. I got married, I had children, I did a whole bunch of other stuff. Did no art whatsoever till I was in my mid-20s. When I all of a sudden got a compulsion to draw, and I remember being out on Fire Island sitting among the crowds and drawing everything in sight like our friend right here. Very well known on-the-spot artist. And one thing led to another, and I fell in love with someone who's now very famous, and I decided I wanted to do a painting for him. And he had a very luxurious apartment with a baby grand piano and very high ceilings, and I got a big 3x5, I think it was a 4x5 canvas, and I did 3 women like the 3 graces of mythology, but in a modern idiom. And we broke up, and I never gave him the painting. So here I was with this giant painting I had created. So they had a show in Greenwich Village, an outdoor show that was very famous. It was one of the first and one of the few. And so I took the painting into the show, and a very nice-looking man approached me, and he said, I really like your painting. He said, I'd like to buy it. He said, can you do more paintings? I said, I hope so. He said, well, I'd like to buy everything you paint. I said, really? I couldn't figure out what he wanted to do with all that painting because I never heard of a distributor before, And so he began buying everything. I went home and I painted. I quit my job and I painted full time. Went under the covers for 3 months until I could figure out how to get out of bed, just go do my own thing and not have to go to a job or what have you. And so one thing always led to another. During that time, one of the things that I did was I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art every Sunday morning, and studied the ancient early Flemish paintings, Raphael, Tintoretto, Titian, all the Renaissance painters. Studied them not by copying them, but by looking. Really learning to see, and I was teaching myself to see what I'm looking at, and to see what made a face in a Raphael painting stand out so much, what made it so specifically touching. And I began to notice it was in the quality of line that the artist used to express, the way color was used, how they made a one-dimensional painting look, two-dimensional, and sometimes even three-dimensional. And I didn't do anything with it until I suddenly got the urge to start doing the paintings, and I haven't stopped since. It's what I decided to do. Anyway, in investigating what's going on with me, and where is all this inspiration coming from, and where is all the energy coming from to execute all of these ideas and feelings and so on, I discovered that most of the people I know at around age 9 become very inhibited. They become repressed. It's either our peers, our parents, our teachers are giving up on finding out what the cause is, you know? But there is a need to impress your peers more than to communicate with your inner self. And one of the reasons for that I discovered is that this is a silent stranger. It's a... Where's my BB gun? Oh, I'm not going to repeat it, so you didn't hear it. I know. We can't communicate with the silent stranger because it doesn't talk, doesn't use words. We have no technique, we have no method to communicate with our own selves because we weren't taught the language. And the language is strictly visual. And that means if you want to be an artist, you have a responsibility to learn how to look, how to see, how to interpret, how to gain what I call a toolbox that you have in your back pocket and that you can pull out the right tool when you need it, just like a mechanic. All right, so this is Stephanie. She's a very fine artist, by the way. But she got a little stuck. Where were you? Here? Oh, here. Yeah, she got a little stuck in what she was doing and she couldn't go any further. And she can draw very well. So these are her earlier drawings, and you can see that she can draw very well. She didn't know how to go past this. She didn't know where to go from here. She got stuck.
Taking a lot of classes all over it.
Oh, yeah. You want to come up, Stephanie, and show the people your drawing? This is how she draws now. Here, I'll hold them up. Yeah. Where's some of the ones that you've taken a little further? These are also the quick sketches.
Oh, very fun.
And now she's starting to branch off into her own expression.
Oh my gosh.
So I made her. So I made her get a little one of the art websites, you know, and she's been getting a fabulous reaction. And she can do that because she's consistent. In other words, there's more where this came from. You know, they're not just a happenstance or one of a kind that happens.
Glaze over.
Well, tell them in your own words.
Yeah, I was stuck in this box. I was really
Louder.
bored, and I didn't know how to get out. I was like in a corner, and I've been going to this drawing group at Continuing Ed, artist teacher, for years, and so too. And Hyacinthe walks in, and I don't know, something happened.
See, it's this book, that's what it is.
Yeah. So we've been working together, Janice and Carl, this other guy that was in the class, for about a year and a half. And as Hyacinthe was saying, when you start the process with the making your mark, and these images just start appearing that you can embellish on. And then you take it into the bigger drawings, the life drawing. And I work just with a piece of charcoal, and I start out with this finger, and I kind of map it out. And I
Well, don't give away the technique yet. You don't have to give them the technique.
Okay.
The important thing is that she, after drawing most of her life and drawing very well, because I think your mother was an artist? Yeah. So she, but she didn't know what to do with it, and she didn't know how to make it into a body of work. And let's face it, you have to, as an artist, if you're going to be successful, you have to create a body of work.
Recognizable.
And not sell all of it so that you can't have a museum show because you don't have any work, which is what's happened to me. Okay.
Yeah, it's all gone.
So now I've gone back to not sculpting because it's too work intensive and I need 6 men to lift the sculptures that I do and stuff. I've created this new technique, which is more of a bas relief. What?
I want to add to it. All my students that have gone to Hyacinth's Friday class have all improved overnight. So, I mean, she has something going that you need to learn how to do. That's all I can say right now.
I'm already signed up.
Hey, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't be here, okay?
Here's another example, by the way. Where's Janice? There's Janice. So Janice basically couldn't draw at all, right? When she started an artist class and then she saw me, and these are some of the early making your mark things that she did. And you can tell she really couldn't draw, at all.
No, we didn't see him over here.
Everybody see?
I still like it.
Yeah, it has there's something there, right? But it, it's not going anywhere. And here she's starting to maybe get the gist of what it takes, so on and so forth. And are these the good ones? Janet, you want to come up here? These are the good ones? This is an early one, an early figurative one.
That's artist class.
In artist class, right? I'll take that one.
Okay, there's 3 classes older.
And this is what she's doing now.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Really nice, Jen.
So you can see that the technique, the tools, and what I'm telling you really works.
That's gorgeous, Janet.
It really, once you break down that wall that's separating you from yourself and in contact with your...
Are you using a model on that one?
No?
No, it was a magazine.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so pictures speak, have 1,000 words, right?
Who's that model?
No. That's a...
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Which one is that? Where's the one you... Look at that, isn't that amazing? Janice is a mobile photographer who has considerable success with her mobile photography. And she's managed to learn, using the tools, she somehow managed to bring everything together. And that one you've seen.
Are these also, I think she said those were hers too?
Yeah, these are her earlier ones.
Oh, the early
Yeah.
ones. Oh, okay.
So, why don't you sit down? I'm going to do a little demo. This should go with this. Any questions? So I'll do a little demo. Anybody have anything to add to what I'm talking about? Nope. Everybody understands the concept of the silent stranger?
Get dirty, right?
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
That's my problem.
I know.
It can work. Well, I tried, it doesn't work.
All right, everybody able to see me?
Maybe you should turn it a little more.
Anybody can't see?
There you go.
Everybody good? Well, you'll be able to come up after it. I can't see. I'm going to have to go this way a little bit more. Is that okay? Okay, there are 2 approaches. One is really getting dirty by dirtying my fingers and leaving a little residue. And I like to start off with a sense of movement, okay, and where the figure is in space, and a sense of direction and so on. So this is what I call an invisible drawing, because it's for no one's eyes but my own, okay? You're going to keep your head down like that? Thank you. You'll notice I don't stay in one spot. This is one technique. Now, once I've got the direction, the sense, and so on, I'm going to come in and create what I call a pattern of darks. It's what the viewer sees when they look at a work of art. It's not there, they're not going to stay looking at your art very long, they're going to move on. So the pattern of dark is what's going to engross your viewer and keep them within your work of art. And that's where you indicate. You notice how I move around a lot? I don't stay in one place because I'm busy creating this pattern without which I got nothing. You always wear your hair up like that? No. No. Oh, difficult. I'm in a difficult area here, but anyway. It's hard to see the pattern of darks when someone's wearing a dark dress.
You told her.
I know. I like to do things the hard way. Yeah, I pull the erasers through. What this does is it implies movement. It's a very subtle way. The sense of the figure moving, not being static, and so on and so forth.
That's so subtle that it works so well.
Now, the more you spend time you spend on developing it, you know, the more it's going to pop up. But basically, of course, if she was nude, there'd be more detail. You know. Okay. I could if I wanted to. But are you following the pattern of darks? How it leads you around? Everybody see that? Now there's enough here for me to go in at any time and fully develop this drawing because there's enough information that I've noted. It's like making notes. You know? Except that sometimes they're sufficient to stand on their own. And that's a basic charcoal drawing. Okay? So I've done enough damage on this one.
Artist, do you ever feel that you've overworked a project, overworked a line?
Well, usually the one thing I like about the quick poses is that you can't overwork it because the model's not there anymore. So you have to get down as much information as you can immediately. But there's enough information here for me to go anywhere I wanted with it. You know?
Yeah, but you recorded the pose just fine.
Thank you. Thank you. But if it particularly inspired me, I might want to do something else. I might want to add some wings, you know. I don't know why she's not no angel, but. I meant that as a compliment.
What if you're angel?
I'm an angel.
There you go.
Okay. See, I have complete leeway, complete reign to just let my imagination run wild. But there's something for me to work from, you know. And I could abstract this way more if I wanted to. But you've got to learn how the pattern of darks, the quality of line, everything describes light. You have to know where the light is coming from, so you know where your shadows are. You have to know these things because it frees you. And it's something that the silent stranger understands. And you can talk about it endlessly and endlessly, but until you get to do it, you don't get the satisfaction of being able to go forward and create.
The silent stranger understands where the lighting source is.
Is it what?
Understands where the light source is.
Where the light source is, of course.
Is that what you said?
Absolutely.
Would it be the focus of?
It's one of them. But you can't describe a pattern of darks if you don't know where the light's coming from. Okay? In this case, I have no light on her except for a bit of daylight, so the light's all over the place.
Well, it kind of looks like it's in the front.
Coming this way. Mostly coming from that window. Anyway, that's that. Okay.
Looks good. Are you going to put color now?
I'll do the crayon one. I'll do one of these. So this, remember, this is what, 2 minutes? How long did it take me? About 2 minutes. You can hold your head up. There you are. Anyway, getting back to the sculpture, by the way. I didn't do them I haven't done any sculpture for about 10 years. And when I left off, I was working on this whole mummy idea because something was coming through to me. And when I first got my studio here, which is just a couple of months ago, I had a canvas with a mask of myself, with a plaster mask. And it was on the canvas, but I had no idea what to do with it. And Cindy was walking to the garbage with a box full of raffia. And she kept her glass in, and I said, no, you don't, and I grabbed it. And I wrapped it around this thing, and I don't know, has everybody been in the studio and seen the piece? Your self-image as a mummy? And in 15 minutes, it was done, you know, like it had been waiting. It was a feeling I used to get when I was sculpting, that these guys would tap me on the shoulder, "Will you hurry up because I'm next, you know, I'm tired of waiting." And all this is possible. Oh, and then I found a picture in National Geographic, I showed it to Julia, of almost the exact thing I had painted. I had never seen that picture before. If you go back in the studio, you'll see it, you know. And all this is possible when you get in touch with yourself and you have the tools necessary. You know, you can have talent, you can do what you're doing very, very well, but it's that extra stuff that speaks to people, that makes them want it, to make you fulfilled and so on and so forth. Okay, let's see. Just look at me. That's good. Okay, so once again, I start off with almost what I call an invisible drawing, you know, and I like, there are different techniques, but I like to start with the eyes, you know.
Crayon that's oil.
These are wax crayons that are oil-based, that are water-soluble. So you can use a thin brush and wash out if you want to. These, of course, take a little longer because you can't get those quick. Oh, cross-eyed. Are you cross-eyed? Oh, must be me. You're very serious, Janice. You'll notice this, the crayons require mostly line. My theory is that line is the last thing in the world you should draw with. It's the icing on the cake. Once you know the form and understand form in a three-dimensional way, then you can come in with line. But you never really should do what I'm doing until you understand that. So these are two different types of mediums. This one is more advanced in terms of what you know and how knowledgeable you are. And I'm also sitting here lopsided. Okay, so Okay, and I'm not going to keep you standing much longer, but this is the basic technique of using more line, almost like a cut. Oh boy. So it must be, okay. I don't know the purple one. Everybody see it okay? Any questions?
And for your shadows, you could do a wash, you could take the paintbrush.
Yeah, I can come in with a brush and water and do the washes. It becomes a watercolor. Or I can use other colors, which I can't seem to find my purple. I'll use blue instead. You can just add other colors and thoughts.
I like that.
So you always lay in the color first and then wet it?
No. No, the ginger is dry.
No, I meant, oh, you mean you didn't wet that one?
No, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. That one I did. It was the one I did of Van. Anyway. Okay.
You can always go back in and add more.
What?
You can always go back in once it's dry and add more.
Well, yeah, again, the whole idea is to get the basics of what you need, and then you can go back and do whatever you want, you know. But thank you, Janet.
Gorgeous as it is, you could stop right there, right?
Yeah.
You could stop at any point along the way, it seems to me, because it's so...
Yeah. Any questions? Anything more I can tell you about it? John, can I tell you anything? Okay, so anyway, getting back to the sculpture. So here I am, and the creativity, the image, the theme of the sculptures that I started doing have just laid in abeyance until the time came, and there was a while there when I didn't think it would, because you know time is running short, and they're coming fast and furious. I've done 6 pieces since I'm here, and that's been about 2 months, you know, and they just keep coming because there's nothing. I don't have a filter. I don't have anything stopping me or saying, you know, you can't do that, or you don't know how to do that, or and so on and so forth. And the reason that I'm giving the lecture and the reason that I'm doing the workshops I'm doing is because it really hurts me to see so many people wanting to create art and being held back from doing what they would love to do. And so if I can help you gain the tools you need and take it wherever you need to go with it, it's my great joy to do that.